Hey everybody, it's Mason here. We'll get to the podcast in just a second. I just wanted to preface this by first off thanking you for listening. It makes it worth it to go through all this and edit these just so that people can listen to them. I think it's the best way for people in our area to learn about our Survivor and how it works and learn about advanced gameplay and different things like that. But I just wanted to say you may hear some things in this podcast that don't quite make sense. That's because I had to edit some of the podcast out. It was really long. As you'll see in a second, we had a lot of people at this podcast, more than we've ever had before. And so that kind of just contributed to a lot of conversation that wasn't necessarily relevant to what we were talking about. And so I just went ahead and tried to trim some of the stuff up and keep it relevant to the game of Survivor. And that's pretty much it. I'll let you guys get to the podcast now. Thank you. All right, everyone. Welcome to the post-game podcast for Survivor Season 6, Part 2, Twist of Fate. I'm your host, Mason Harrell. With me, I've got maker, executive producer, whatever you want to call him. He's Cheston Smith.
What's up, he is. Bitch?
We also got our other co-producer, Nate Hodson, with us.
Good evening, young grasshopper.
I thought you were the ultimate survivor.
I used to be the ultimate survivor.
Oh, okay. Maybe somebody else has taken that mantra. With us, we have winner of Twist of Fate, Payton Brewer.
I am the ultimate survivor.
There it is. Also with us, we have fourth place in Twist of Fate, Abby Spalla.
Hey.
And then Maeleesa is also here with us from Assassin's Creed. She watched part of this game, so she may have some thoughts on it, but she's also played with Payton and Abby in Assassin's Creed as well. And the season before that, Mystery Island. So, yeah, Payton and Abby are the only two people that have played the last 3 seasons. So congrats on that, guys. We'll talk about probably all 3 seasons at some point during the podcast. I'm going to swing it over to Cheston now. I know he's got some questions ready for both of y'all.
Guys, thank y'all so much for being here tonight. Like Payton and Abby, like Mason said, you guys have played the last 3 games. And it's really encouraging to see you guys like continue to have passion for Survivor, to come out and keep playing, keep trying your hand with it. Even when it doesn't necessarily go the way that you want it. You guys are super competitive, and you don't say no, you don't give up, and you come out and you try again. So that's really encouraging for me as a game maker. And also as a Survivor fan, to see how your games have changed and evolved. You guys have come a long way since the first time that you've played. Payton, do you want to talk about how your game has evolved?
Yeah, I would say it has changed. It's came a long way, and I was pretty happy the way I ended up finishing this last season. I was not happy the way I finished. Was it season 5?
Mm-hmm. Mystery Island.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like going out before even going to the merge.
Or that would have been Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed, yeah. I was pretty upset about getting voted out before the even merge happened. So
breaking down your game, kind of like from the very first time that you started with Mystery Island, you were like this sort of, I don't want to say goat necessarily, but I mean, you didn't necessarily know what you were doing. You were very much a follower. Maybe you kind of lacked strategy a little bit. And then we see where you came full circle with Twist of Fate, where you are the person in charge, you're the playmaker, you were the person doing flashy moves, you were the brains behind the operation. What did you do to get from point A to point B?
Really, it was just a mindset. Like, the first season I played in, I was just going to play just to have some fun. I mean, I wasn't necessarily... I mean, I was competitive. I wanted to win challenges and stuff, but I didn't understand, like, fully how Survivor worked. And I knew that I wanted to make it to the end, and I knew if I went with Nate, which is a really experienced player, going with him to the end, he said, you can make it Final 4. Let's do it. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I'll be loyal. Let's have some fun. And
And everyone forgets to ask the old-timely question, what happens past Final Four? Well, in Nate's eyes, you don't exist past Final Four.
No, I didn't. And at the time, I didn't really... I mean, I kind of knew that I was the fourth man. Like, if I didn't win that challenge, I knew I was out. And I had a point in the game I could have switched over, but I never fully jumped onto it. And that's where I think my game changed in season 6, part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think my game really changed during that point. I said, I knew it was my last chance, and you even let me know, is like, this is your last chance to prove yourself. And I texted you and I said, I'm going to win. And I was dead straight on winning. Like, no matter what it takes, if I have to break loyalty, whatever I have to do to keep going all the way to the end, I was going to do it. But luckily fate drew its way to where I could keep Dustin till the end and let it play from there.
All right. And Abby, we've seen your game evolve and change as well, starting from the very first time that you played Season 5, Mystery Island last year, where you were this extremely flashy, bold person attitude. You weren't quite on Allie's level, I would say, but you were definitely the attitude of the season, and it seemed like you were on Allie's level then because there wasn't anyone else there as sort of loud as you were, which definitely put a target on your back. And we've seen you definitely tone it down, going back-to-back games, making it to Final Four both times. What do you attribute your success to?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, one thing that I definitely had to do is kind of talk to people more, for sure. I mean, I tried to kind of hold back my competitiveness, let others take their reins, because, I mean, say in Season 6, Part 1, I let Ryan and Ronnie kind of take that leadership role and kind of glide my way through, trying not to be the target in it, trying to just kind of take a step back and just be there until I could really start to really play. Because I wasn't able to truly make a play until we swapped. And I think that was my changing point, when I finally got to kind of branch out and talk to other people besides who was on my team to kind of, because I knew who were their threats. I knew I needed to get them out, but how? I didn't figure out until I got on to another team, and I found my opportunity when I got rid of Payton. Sorry, Payton. I couldn't trust you. I felt like your bond with Ronnie was just a little bit too strong for me, and I couldn't trust that. I also felt like if I truly needed May on my side, I needed you gone, to kind of pull her to me, 100%, not, 40, 50. I didn't know, how loyal she was at that point until I knew you were gone.
Well, let's ask Maeleesa, come Assassin's Creed at the merge, had Payton been in the merge instead of Ronnie, how different would the merge have been for you? You would have had more options at that point. You and Abby made this dynamic female duo. How different would the merge have been if Payton were there instead of Ronnie?
Oh, it would have been completely different. 100%.
I believe that. Why did you guys settle on targeting another female duo, Ryan and Allie, over anyone else?
Because it was pretty obvious that Ryan was loyal to Ronnie and Allie was loyal to Ryan, so therefore, I felt like she was going to be loyal to Ronnie, and I just couldn't trust Ronnie because I knew how well he played. I played with him before, and he's good at challenges, that type of stuff, so I don't know, I felt like the best bet was to kind of direct the, get people to see that Ronnie was a big threat and get him out. And I felt like that would help me and whoever I was trying to take to, whatever.
So you guys did successfully get rid of Ronnie quickly. and then you're left with Allie and Ryan, another strong female duo. I don't know if this is the Survivor fan in me or if it just seems like obvious. Like, why didn't the four of y'all link up and make a four power women?
It was Allie. Allie was too much into Gabe to actually listen to Ryan, because Ryan would have made that pact, but then because Allie couldn't do it, like, I think Ryan thought she still needed more votes, so she went with who she thought was still the higher vote, which they weren't. But she didn't realize that.
There wasn't really connection between Abby and I and the other girls, and I feel like a lot of that was because there wasn't a lot of communication with them, which that could be on our part too, you know. I feel like we could have tried, but I don't think they trusted us, and we definitely didn't trust them because of the whole Ronnie situation, and because of us seeing that they were becoming loyal to other people as well.
Yeah, and I picked that up as well with the new teams after they swapped. You were kind of on the outs with your new team, Maeleesa.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to ask, so would that mean that Ryan kind of sunk her game by just being super loyal to Allie? Because you mentioned that Ryan wanted to go with Allie, but Allie was super about Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
So are you then saying Ryan sunk her game?
I don't know, I feel like if Ryan had come to us before and would actually, like, really talk to us about it and be like, listen, I understand that Allie is all for Gabe, maybe we can still switch the votes in our favor and at least get, say, Tyler out. Not necessarily Gabe, but kind of pick at Tyler, but that never happened, you know. And I think we also didn't really have enough time to go back and talk to them about it, because it's like we saw them from afar talking to them, and I think that's what also made us not really trust them, because it's like of how close we thought they were to the other team.
And we knew
Or
that
the other alliance.
with us being the female, you know, the other female duo besides them, that we were going to be their biggest, you know, enemies. Like, they were going to view us as a threat. So we were just kind of threatened by thinking that they were threatened.
See,
if that makes sense.
I don't think Allie ever truly wanted an all-female alliance. I think Ryan did, but I don't think Allie did at all. Like,
See,
I feel like I remember her saying she strictly wanted to be with the guys.
Right. Yeah, I had talked after we had merged, or not merged, but had the new team and everything, and I was with Ryan and Allie. I had asked them about a female alliance, and they seemed like they were all on board, but I was still kind of skeptical about it because the way that they kind of answered me, like, I knew that it was that they were kind of questioning it and everything, and I felt like at that point I tried to gain their trust by talking with them, but after we had merged, it just they kind of went their separate ways. And what made me realize that I couldn't trust them and that the all-female alliance wasn't going to work was because after we had merged, we got the break, and Ryan and Ronnie and Allie all rode to Loves together, and so we were like, I thought deep down, I was like, okay, like, that's really sus, you know, and then I told Abby about it, and that's when we were like, okay, we have to, like, break this up and do what we gotta do to not let them run the show, you know, because we knew that was what was gonna happen.
And I think that's why we never truly focused on, like, Gabe and Tyler. I think...
Because we were so focused on that,
them.
yeah.
I mean, a trio is always more dangerous than a duo, for sure. And Boston Rob, one of the greatest Survivor players to ever live, said himself, you know, you can always tell who's working with who by who sleeps next to each other. Obviously, we don't have an overnight game, but he would paraphrase in this case and say by who rides with who going to Loves.
Right.
And I mean, that sums it up perfectly, because I noticed, like, who all was walking with who was riding with who, and it's like you can just tell.
Yeah, that's the
Who
reason
you're
why I rode
comfortable
with
with.
Mason. Part of the reason is because, like, I had some people ask me, hey, let's ride together, and I was like, I'm gonna ride with Mason, and we don't have any other room, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that way no one really knew where you stood.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know we've been on this subject a little bit, but I just want to ask another angle to that. That was just kind of, I feel like that was, in my opinion, like the biggest game shift of Assassin's Creed was 7. So that's why I guess we're giving time to it here. But there was another kind of perspective to this vote as well I want to get y'all's opinion on here. Actually, whenever we interviewed Tyler, because I asked him specifically, I said, what the heck happened at 7? Because like Cheston was saying, from an outside perspective, it seems to have made sense that y'all two and Allie and Ryan would start targeting the dudes. It seems like kind of in the middle, like start picking them off in the middle, and that didn't happen. And so I was kind of like Tyler. I was like, why did that not happen? And he actually said that Ethan McCoon, who got second in Assassin's Creed, was actually a huge part in that with his relationship with you, Abby. So I just want to know, like, to what extent, if that's accurate at all, if that actually was a play into this, or just some perspective on that.
Where were we at, Team 7?
So final 7, it was you and May and Ryan and Allie.
It was the vote.
That was when all of the Allie, the Allie talking her head off, trying to convince us, and we were just like, we cannot trust her. Like, we know that one of us is about to go home.
The dart got played
Like
on
I
Maeleesa.
said,
You
like,
played your idol on Maeleesa.
To me, it was mainly just about Allie. Like, it's just, we just didn't trust her, and it's like, we knew part of the votes were gonna be on Maeleesa. Like, I knew that for a fact. I believe Ethan did say that they wanted to get rid of Maeleesa, and so I knew she had a target on her back, and I knew I needed to do something to kind of save her. I don't think it had anything to do with any of the others, really. It's just because I could just see how Allie was, and I could tell. I mean, I was just lucky enough that everyone else voted for Ryan, and no one else voted for me, because that's when Ryan played all that crap
Most of the
to
time,
try and get me out.
Most of the time, when people start off their sentence or end their sentence with "I swear to God," they're usually lying. And Allie said that quite a bit, and that really was like that's when we were realizing, one of us is being targeted. So
this all goes back to Allie. But Ryan was completely fair game. So why didn't you get rid of Allie, just like you got rid of Payton, to bring in an ally?
Because I didn't see Allie really as a threat compared to Ryan.
Well, you knew that you couldn't trust.
No, I didn't need to trust Allie. I knew not to trust Allie.
So is the big question of this round then, since you guys were all pointed at each other, is that the crucial point where Gabe and Tyler then
I think so.
make their push? Like,
Yeah.
did they get to the end because
They forced
the two pairs of
two,
women
yes.
were
which was
Were-
extremely
had Allie
similar
not
to Mystery
been
Island.
with like so trusting with Gabe, and we could have trusted her, there was no doubt I would have made an or formed a girl alliance. It's just because I don't know why her trust was in Gabe so much. But I mean, it was.
And real quick, I think this particular instance, like, I'm sorry, I'll shut about this pretty quick. This was just so fascinating to me, this whole vote. I think this is very interesting to me because now basically what I'm hearing is there were like 7 players in the game, and I feel like I've heard like 6 perspectives that are completely different about what happened at that vote. As crazy as that sounds.
A lot happened.
It's like
there,
and honestly, like, I kind of want to tie that. I know, he didn't win or anything, but I think that's pretty impressive from now a hindsight perspective. Like, impressive on Gabe. So it feels like Gabe's actually was the one holding the cards there. All the movement was around everybody else, but he was the one that was sitting back holding the cards. And I think he 100% knew what he was doing with Allie too, and that triggered something and caused the explosion. I don't think that's coincidental.
Information is power in Survivor.
Because, I mean,
And Gabe was
Allie,
the only person that had all the
means
information.
Gabe doesn't have to worry about Ryan.
I also think it's interesting that you're so blown away by this, Nate,
I'm
because
not-
you did the exact same thing in Mystery Island, where you pitted the women against each other, and they didn't even notice that the men all had an alliance.
Hey.
This is true.
So
This is very true.
So here's my question. Is that good on Gabe, or is it bad on y'all? Or is it a mixture of both?
I feel like it's
mixture
a
of both.
mixture. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, Allie wasn't going to switch. I mean...
Yeah,
And-
she wasn't.
And Ryan wasn't going to switch either because she was so loyal with Allie.
Exactly.
And
So I
Allie
think it was a
didn't-
mute point.
Allie didn't even necessarily need to switch either, because though she did lose Ryan, she was still set up to make it deeper into the game, so she had more opportunities to try to find her way to the very end. She couldn't.
Which I will, going off that very point is where I will give credit back to Abby's earlier statement where she said she didn't feel like Allie, or what was it? What did you say? You didn't feel like Allie was a threat. So, yeah, she was going to go deeper in the game, but her game was limited to the point that Ryan...
Yeah, because, like, the guys were there. The guys weren't going to take her.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't going to. She was, to me, almost like an underdog at that point.
So I think mine and Abby's problem in that game was we strategized way too early, and we started gaming too early. Whereas, like, Allie, she kind of laid low. Like, she didn't really throw out any ideas, you know, when I was on the team with her. You know, whereas, like, me, I'm like, okay, you know, if this happens, this is what's going to happen. You know, like, I was already gaming. And I think she saw that, and I think she saw that as a threat. And I think that's the reason why she couldn't trust me, you know, or trust us as a duo also.
I think in Survivor, especially with Survivor Durant, we see historically that the dominant plan always prevails. And obviously Gabe and Tyler had the dominant plan because we've seen the 4 women go out back to back to back to back. And similarly, in part 2, the duo of Dustin and Payton, who were down in the final 6, 4-2, had the dominant plan because we've seen the other 4 go out back to back to back to back. So let's talk about part 2 now, and let's talk about the crucial moments of Twist of Fate. So in the final 6, Abby, you were in the power position. You had the numbers 4-2. You, your brother, Sam and Cam, against Dustin and Payton. What happened?
I mean, kudos to Payton. That was, I wish I would have seen that. I just thought, like, I knew what the outcome is, but, I mean, this is Survivor. I mean, you should see this coming a mile away. Something's going to happen. Somebody has something that you don't know about. And I should have saw that coming, and Ethan did say maybe we should have sent Payton, you know, to, what was this called?
Valhalla.
Valhalla, yes. And I mean, had I now, Ethan was dumb for giving me the
advantage, the exemption pass.
Actually, wasn't this 7, not 6?
It was in 6.
Is this 6?
Okay, it was 6. Okay. But
Here's what I think, okay? You lost season 5 because you told everyone that you had an idol and you got voted out because you said too much. You lost season 6 part 1 because you told Gabe that you had been through too much stuff and you shouldn't go out now, and you pitched your case as to why you couldn't win.
I still don't believe I wouldn't have not had gone home. I think that's the reason why.
You scared Gabe. Gabe was
going
to tie it, but you said too much. You scared Gabe. And then you lost in part 2 because, again, you said too much. You said that you had this advantage. You even revealed to Payton everything it did.
That's fair.
You told Payton that you weren't even going to get to vote.
Payton knew exactly
right
how the whole thing was going to play out, and it only
was
worked.
Good timing on that.
I don't know
round.
if you know this. It only worked because you used the exemption pass. If you
I
don't
found
use
that
the
out
exemption
later
pass, it doesn't work.
I read his thing and I realized what it did, and Cameron and Sam had kind of told me more about it. I was like, oh wow. The thing was, even with that being said, I wasn't worried. Like, I honestly wasn't. What killed it was next in the final 5, because Ethan, again, he pulled what he did with Payton. How he voted Payton on that one round because he thought he heard Sam say Payton. He thought that we were voting for Sam. No. What I had told him was I wanted Sam to use his idol to get rid of it, to flush it out, because he still had one more round to use it.
But Sam used his idol previously on Cameron.
Because he was going to use it. I wanted the idol flushed out.
So why did Ethan flip on you guys? Like, you're closest.
I thought you were talking about Final 5.
Yeah.
When he flipped.
In Final 5, when your brother
That's
flipped,
what I'm saying.
There was no idol.
Here's what happened.
I think I'm getting a.
She doesn't even know what happened because she was sitting on the other side of the table. This was literally 20 seconds before we were going to vote, and Dustin starts creating chaos, which is perfectly fine. I was happy with it. He starts creating chaos. He stands up. Once I knew he was standing up, I knew he was about to start getting some people riled up. And he starts talking about Sam, how he's a swinging door and you don't know which way he's going to swing. And then or he's like a rope and you don't know which way he's going to get pulled. And all this stuff. And Sam starts getting mad. And then somehow Sam says something that makes Ethan kind of mad. And I look over at Ethan. So Ethan's to my left, Dustin's to my right, and you're right on the other side. Sam's sitting right there. And I said, do you want to vote out Sam? He says, do you want to vote out Sam? And I tried to keep my face together, and I said, yeah, I want to vote out Sam.
My brother is
He said, okay, let's do it. And I said, all right. And
I
so
hope you
that's
listen to this, Ethan. You're a dumbass.
You guys were sitting pretty. You had all the power. What world do you think Dustin and Payton betray each other and take you to the end? They said that they didn't want to take Sam, Cameron, or Abby because they're all going to vote for each other to win. So don't you fit into that as well? I don't understand, Ethan.
Y'all keep going with the podcast. I'm going to go pray.
No wonder.
I'm going to go pray.
No wonder
that was a little
harsh. He didn't want to admit his mistake.
I knew as soon as the votes were kind of starting to be read, I knew the Ethan switch. I just knew it.
Your own brother. You guys were sitting pretty. Speaking of dumb decisions, let's go back further. In the final 6, Cameron gets voted out. You don't really have much to do with that. And it seemed like there were 3 pairs. There were 3 pairs, very clearly. The Spallas versus Dustin and Payton versus Sam and Cam. I thought the Spallas and Sam and Cam were going to team up. So Cameron goes, you guys can't really do anything about that. Doesn't matter. It's the Spallas and Sam versus...
Because honestly, it didn't really matter who won the next round as long as one of the other ones went.
You were all about that plan.
Because
Clearly.
it was the smart plan.
How did your brother not find Dustin more threatening than Sam? When
You're
you
speaking to the
even
damn
said,
choir.
and I think that this clearly says everything, is that Dustin is almost he's like the total package when it comes to Survivor. Truly. He's very good socially. He's able to manipulate people to do what he wants, and he's extremely athletic. We've seen him take down a couple challenges. He's really fast. But what I don't get is this all revolves around Ethan's stupidity. So we understand that your game was totally demolished by your closest ally, your brother.
And it fucked him up too. Like, that's the thing. In no way, shape, or form was that good for him.
Yeah, it made no sense. Like, so
He's
what?
a swinger.
Well, what happened? He's a swinger. Yeah, I mean, what did he think was going to happen after that round? Like at 4,
I have no idea. That's what I'm saying. It's like, did he really believe that Payton or Dustin was going to take him?
But again, we can't fault your brother entirely for you losing, because again,
it could have been prevented.
You told everybody what your advantage did. Why?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't either.
I feel like no matter what, he still would have been able to do something, whether or not he knew, because he knew that I would have gone and he would have explained what exactly
I will
happened.
say one thing.
Tell her, Payton.
If you didn't ever tell me that you had that, and I went to go and play mine,
But I had to play it before anything.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if I would have played it before you said that, you would have known that I was about to do something and wouldn't have had to play it.
But would you have played it though?
Like,
because even
for
still,
both
the
of
votes
your
would have been stacked
advantages,
against you.
For both of your advantages, you had to use them.
Right.
Like, I'll say it's time to start the voting, and then you guys, that was your last chance to use it. Payton was gonna do it way before then. He had like loose feet about it, so he knew to wait on you because you told him everything. He even came up and said, he was like, Abby gave me half the information about her advantage, and I'm still unsure about it. And then he was like, now Abby told me that she also can't vote in this coming
but that's
tribal.
the thing. You still would, like, no matter how it played out, I would have technically had to use it first, because as soon as you say, start the votes, I would have had to use it. He wouldn't have been able to use it because the votes still would have been stacked against him.
But
and
if he would have used
said,
that...
But when I said it first, and then you were like, okay, So Spalla is gonna go inside. She can't vote. He still would have used it. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, you're right. But I'm saying if he would have used it first and used it on you, it would have mattered.
Yeah.
Big time. And
I guess I just still don't see it.
And if you didn't tell
Here's
him
the thing:
that you
if you
couldn't
didn't
vote,
ever leave, and it would have been a 3-3 tie, and so I had a
3-3,
disadvantage
who
where
was
I
the-
couldn't even vote in that.
Who was the other? Who was the 3-on-3?
The person's vote that he stole.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it turned with
See,
you
that
leaving.
advantage I didn't know
With you
about.
leaving, it turned to a 3-2, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So are
3-2.
you still? Do you know about that now?
Well, now.
Oh, okay, yeah. So let's just go over what happened. So you use an exemption pass. You go into the house. There's now 5 people. Payton stands up and plays a steal a vote on Cameron.
Right.
So
That prevents Cameron from
Okay,
voting
yes,
and lets him
yeah, I
vote
think
in
I
his
remember
place.
Yeah.
them saying-
Technically, I got 2 votes.
perfect
Yeah.
play, I think,
Took his vote.
for 2 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, you take Cameron's vote. You need the numbers advantage, obviously. Number 2, if there's an idol out there somewhere in y'all's alliance, guess who it's getting played on now? Cameron. He set himself up to play his idol nullifier
Surprised he didn't
perfectly.
use that on Ethan though.
No, I knew once he said, I played it on cam, I stole it on cam because I knew that put pressure on Cameron. Because they're thinking, oh crap, he's going for Cameron, clearly. And so I need to give this to Cameron. And so once I played this steal a vote on Cameron, I knew I needed to play the idol nullifier on Cameron. So he couldn't give himself immunity or someone couldn't give him immunity.
And think about it at this point, and I'm sure Payton probably thought about this and maybe he's just not like remembering or not saying it, but at that point, who is more likely for an idol to be played on? Like, was Ethan going to get an idol played on him by Sam and Cameron? Probably not. They were going to play it. It was either going to be played on Sam or played on Cameron. They would have played it on each other, but neither of them was going to play it for Ethan.
I knew if I put it on Cameron, he couldn't play it to Sam, and Sam couldn't give him one. It goes. So if I would have played it on, I mean, either way, if I would have put it on Sam, I didn't know if Ethan had an idol or not. Like, I wasn't sure, so I knew the safest thing was to put it on Cameron to where he couldn't receive them or use one.
Hey everybody, Future Mason here. I just wanted to jump in real quick and clarify something that was said in the podcast about the idol nullifier and the way it works. So the way the idol nullifier works in the game of Survivor is if you have it, when you walk up to the voting urn, you write down the name of the person that you want to nullify idols being played on with the idol nullifier. So in this instance, Payton walked up, wrote down Cameron on the idol nullifier, and then placed it in the urn. So what I wanted to clarify was that Payton said something about he played it on Cameron so that Cameron wouldn't be able to play an idol on someone else. That's not necessarily true. The way it works is whoever's name is on the nullifier, only idols played on that person get nullified. So it doesn't make them to where they can't play an idol. That person can still play an idol on somebody else if they want to. Idols just cannot be played on that person. Or technically they can be played on that person, but they will be nullified, hence the name idol nullifier. I'll let you guys get back to the podcast.
Now we see the importance and the advantage of keeping.
Dustin didn't even know that I had.
Yeah, that's what I'm
a
saying.
hidden
Keeping
immunity
an advantage secret. No one in
I
the
stuck it
entire
in my
game
pocket.
knew that you had that, and you were able to create one of the flashiest, most strategic moves in Survivor Durant history with the idol nullifier, and no one knew that you had it. And you were only able to do that because you kept it a secret.
Yeah.
Just
And-
like going back to Mystery Island when Abby had an advantage and Nate and I were trying to get everyone to vote Abby out. Sorry, I've been loyal.
like
I've not
that.
been loyal at the same time.
It'd be
But
like that.
but when when we were trying to get everyone to vote Abby out, Abby had asked me, "Do I need to play my advantage?" And instead of going with her gut, she listened to me, and I said, "No, like we're trying to vote so and so out, So
Actually, I wasn't even going to use it on myself. I was asking if I should use it on somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah.
But it still
wanted to
threw
use
it out
it
that she had it
on-
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, they already knew I had it.
Yeah.
From the very beginning. Like, I had it for a while. And like I said, I was new to the game. I didn't know, like, what all went into it and, like, how it was really played. Like, I was just there for the competition. Like, I like the competitiveness of it. I like the challenges of it. And I will still say, the games on Season 5, I thought were fan-fucking-tastic compared to the Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. Did not like Assassin's Creed competitions, I will say that. Balancing shit sucks. Can't do it. Save my life.
I like the challenges in Season 5, too. I felt like that was more mine.
I'm still mad at
I had
Tyler, though.
more.
Like, that one challenge we would have won had he not listened to me, because he was sticking the sponge all the way down there because somebody else told him to do that, and it was sucking back up water.
Yeah, in the base.
Are y'all
Yeah.
talking about
That's
Assassin's
season
Creed?
6.
Assassin's Creed.
But,
Yeah.
Green.
I did like Season 5. I felt like that was more my kind of strong point of type of advantages. Like the one, I don't remember the ring one, where you'd have to go and grab it or touch them, and they would have to, was it they dropped it, or it was the ring, right? The little frisbee ring.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
And then one player got hurt.
That did get kind of out of hand. It's
Oh,
still the bacon.
Yes.
I mean, that's a
I couldn't
traditionally
remember.
a long-term
Oh,
Survivor
that was
thing.
great.
They've been playing Steal the Bacon forever in
That's
Survivor.
been my favorite one. I just love. I love being physical. Maybe just because I played football and played basketball. I just played sports like that,
You
just
don't kick
physical
people.
ones. Yeah, but I just enjoy.
That cup game was physical, wasn't it, Abby?
It was a little physical. It got a little physical.
Oh my.
She came out of it all right. We were a
Yeah.
little afraid for a
And
minute.
As a bystander, though, as far as competitions go, I will say I think the coolest Survivor Durant competition I've seen was the tic-tac-toe.
I was about to say
I
that.
really like
was-
that.
that
The
was really
tic-tac-toe from Twisted Fate.
I think
That
there's
was-
a lot
that
of
was
people
a
who
lot
would
of
agree
fun.
with that too.
It was
'Cause
fun,
even
but-
Tyler said that
It
was
was just sad because I feel like that was kind of a little stacked against us because, I mean, you had, like, for some reason, this how
Well,
it
Fate
always
drew that
is,
team up.
Who you gonna blame?
was, like,
Fate drew it up. We did not.
Fate.
And we
'cause,
got
like,
a
you had,
stacked
like,
team.
3 stacked people going back
And
to back.
secondly, it wasn't even necessarily who was on the team's fault. There were several mistakes made
That's
in that
very
game.
Yeah.
true.
Dude, there was so
I
many
definitely
times-
made one of them.
Where
Because it
they
was just so fast paced, they didn't realize where you put it.
almost every time that someone got a point, it was because the other team
Did.
literally like left a spot open. I only saw one
Because
point
they,
where
we kind of like freaked out a little bit and was just
Yeah.
trying to get
there was
back
one
to
point
your,
where I had
spot as fast as
this
you
the sack, and and I think it was Jimmy that went up, was running, didn't realize I was right behind him, and I saw one of the spots where you could just put it right there and we win, and he doesn't even see it and puts it there, and then I'm like, all right, and I just put it right
Oh,
where
I'm glad me
I
and
didn't
Cameron were the
actually-
only ones that did
Actually,
that
I
because I know
didn't-
me and Cameron did that.
I take that back. I had to pick it up and put it.
Oh, yeah.
I had to put it in the spot, but I mean, it was pretty easy. Like you could see it when I was running up.
I only saw one point. I was down there watching that whole thing. I only saw one point where a team actually like made like a pinch movement towards, okay, no matter where they place one, we've got it here. Like that only happened one time. Every other point was either just
Luck.
you outsped or the other team made a mistake. Like there was no luck. It was mistakes.
Yeah.
It was the other team
Luck and
on accident
mistakes,
making
what's the
mistakes.
difference?
Abby, I also wanted to touch on this. You
Okay.
played previous Survivor games with Maddie, Payton, and Gabe before. But in the final 11 vote, it was like the second vote that we did for the game or whatever, the final 9 vote, I guess, you targeted Gabe, you got Gabe out. Why did you guys successfully get rid of Gabe when you knew that Payton and Maddie had a history of working together, being a duo?
Oof. Oh, let me see. I think it was for the most part, Ethan had his mind made up, and Sam, that they needed Gabe out. And I think they weren't really going to listen to what I had to say at that point. Like, they were hellbent. I was like, you know what? Fine. That's where the votes are having to swing, you know? Because I've learned, like, you want to be majority vote.
Right, absolutely.
And also, I mean, even still with Gabe out, that's still one less that they had because
Sure.
Gabe would eventually had
But
seen that.
Gabe is definitely more of a free agent than Payton and Maddie.
But the thing is that you could tell like that wasn't going anywhere because of how tight they were.
Yeah, it was definitely 4-on-4.
They
like,
weren't
no matter
like
what.
going back and forth. You know, Gabe wasn't really going back and forth.
But you knew that no matter what, if you kept Payton and Maddie in, they were together. So shouldn't you have at least broke that up?
I guess because we were getting majority vote, I feel like I really wasn't that worried about it.
You guys should have had the majority vote the whole game.
There was one point.
Tell me about it.
I think it was the final 7, and I realized I didn't. This is when the one mistake I made, which ended up being good, but was I thought that when you went to vote, this is my fault. When you went to vote, you would play the White Rock and the 2 ping and steal the vote. And y'all told me straight up, like, no, that's not how it works.
I'm glad that you brought that up. That was actually on my list of things to talk about.
Was that your freak out, Payton?
Yes. And yeah, I did freak out. I'm gonna say that I was pretty pissed because I thought I was going home. Like I was pretty positive that it was me, and turns out it ends up being Maddie, which I was fine with that. Like,
so I'll give Dustin his props there when he did create a little chaos because he had Ethan believing that he had an idol and that he was going to play it on one of you. So we wanted to do the safe vote and vote Maddie,
which is
because
smart.
It wasn't.
Yeah, that's very
wouldn't
smart.
Have seen it coming, but that's because Dustin made the good move into making sure that Ethan thought he had an idol and that he was going to use it.
When y'all walked up and started voting Maddie, Cheston and I had a quick little conversation after the first person walked away. I believe it was something like, I said, the safe vote.
Yeah.
It's not often we see like an option C.
Which
is
that
smart. That takes a while for like in the evolution of Survivor for people to develop that. Normally it's like we're going after this person and then maybe there's an option B. But to go for an option C, save vote just to keep the numbers, I thought was really smart whenever you guys did that.
That's what we wanted. We wanted to keep that majority vote, even if one of them would have won one of the immunities. The other one was
let your
out.
brother know he had one smart moment in that game. Now, going backwards to Payton, I had this on my notes, some things to talk about. You did try to use your advantage in the city, that White Rock advantage, prior to the missed timing in the final 7. You begged me and Mason to let you use it, okay? Then it turns out that it was a great thing that you missed the timing on it. And ultimately, because you missed the timing on it, that move was the flashiest move of the whole series probably. And ultimately that move is what won you the game. So do you contribute your big win to just dumb luck?
No, I don't think so. I think the way this season played out was my fate to win it. I really do think so. I had a lot of things. I came into this thinking like fate's going to push me out. Like it's going to be horrible luck. I'm not going to have any. And once we were like, all right, we're going to draw rocks for who's on your tribe. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to get on the tribe where it's all 4 of them and just me. And I'm like, all right.
Same thing.
And so we opened it up, and I was the tribe we got was pretty, like I really liked it. It came out pretty fine. I was like pretty happy about what happened.
It was crazy how that turned out, you know.
Why do you think that was? Because that's also on my list. Why do you think that the concrete tribes, like the dividing line in the game was from the first starting tribes? Why do you think that was? Like the starting team was you, Gabe, Dustin, and Maddie, and it was you guys the final 4.
I feel like we were playing dodgeball. That's how the teams would play out. Like if you're pick you.
Why do you think that was? And you just mentioned you were scared that you were going to get a rock that made you on like the Spalla's team or with Sam or whoever.
Yeah.
So were these lines already divided before the game began?
It kind of felt like it. Honestly, I walked up and I was waiting for everyone to show up, and I was kind of seeing. I was like, all right, I kind of know. I've already see how the alliances, these first few alliances, are gonna play out. Like, I was trying to keep my distance from everyone. Just kind of, I was talking a little bit, not trying to act like that awkward person that just sits there and doesn't say anything. But I was still observing like who's talking to who's hanging out with who, and I was already kind of piecing it together, and I was like, well, the way it's looking like, it was a 6-4, like straight off the bat.
Yeah.
We also have to think what would have happened had Jimmy stayed.
Yeah, that's
We'll
a
never
big thing
know.
Too.
Yeah, I'm still upset about that. 'Cause
Hey.
I would have liked to.
Fate, that's what
Hey,
I'm saying.
I'm
Fate,
upset about that.
I'm upset. Oh, are y'all broken up?
We're not broken up. I'm just a little
He said,
disappointed.
We're not broken up.
But yeah, I would think like luck did play a lot in it, but I still think that I played the best that I could with what I got.
Which is definitely the point and theme of the season. Is this was a very luck-based
I felt like
season.
that was the one thing that I screwed up on, ended up becoming the best thing for me. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, there's not a Survivor winner in Survivor's
That
history
doesn't mess up.
that hasn't messed, but hasn't won because of luck in some aspect. Luck is a huge factor in Survivor, whether it's little or a lot. Every winner wins in some regard because of luck.
Yeah.
So we mentioned the Final Four a little bit, but going back to the Final Five, why did you take Dustin to the end instead of Sam? I feel like Ethan and Sam were kind of wishy-washy when it came down to their strategy and what they wanted to do in the game. And Dustin was like a game maker. Like, a lot of the things that happened in the game was because of the moves that Dustin made.
Yeah.
You just got kind of lucky that Dustin gave up. So wouldn't it be smarter, not knowing that Dustin was going to give up in the end, to take Sam to the end, like someone that didn't really do anything, the moves that he did try to make got shut down with idle nullifiers? Wouldn't it be better to take Sam to the end? He's the swinging door instead of Dustin.
Well, that brings up a good point. There's a reason why I took Dustin to the end, because I knew, for one, he was the big target. I wasn't. Even after I made one of the biggest plays in Survivor history, no one saw me as a big threat. And I figured someone would, but everyone was so worried about Dustin that he was this big threat. I thought, that's my shield right there. Like, if I can keep him in just a little longer, keep him right where I need him to be, I can make my way even to top 3 with him, and him still be this big threat that they want to take out. And I knew loyalty was a big part of my game. If I can keep Dustin, I can keep saving him, keep having him create all this chaos, letting people get mad at him while I'm just making all this. He's up here making all the chaos, and I'm just down here in the shadow picking up his loose pieces that I need to fill up. Like, if he wasn't creating that chaos, I wouldn't have been able to get Ethan on my side, but at the same time, he wouldn't have been able to make it without me being like, hey, Ethan, let's take out Sam right here. I think that was my best option at that time in the Final Five, because at that point, I was about to have to take out Dustin, because I was like, well, that's the only way that I make it through. And I knew if I did that, I lost my shield. Like, I lost who everyone was thinking was this big target. And so that's why I kept him. That's what I was going to say, even towards to the end.
Actually, I don't know about that. So I think you still would have been in a good spot. And my reason being is, had you voted with Dustin and we went to the next challenge, right?
Yeah.
Sam would have won immunity hands down. He would have aced that slush, and he would have gotten one of me or Ethan out. For sure. Like, no doubt about that. Me, Ethan, and Sam would not have made it to Final 3 because I know how Sam works.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
either way,
I didn't know how
I feel
Sam
like you
worked,
had
so.
a good position.
Yeah,
I still felt good.
That's it.
Yeah, everyone wanted to take you to the end for whatever
That's
reason.
the thing. Like, you had nothing really to worry about. Like,
That-
it's just
I felt
making
fine,
your
I
case
really
for
did.
Final 2 with any one of us.
I think Nate's gonna say the same thing that I am. Where Payton took the person to the end that was gonna take him to the end, guaranteed. That he knew. Obviously, like, maybe there were more people that would have taken him. But from Payton's perspective, who's the one person that he knows 100% is taking him no matter what?
Mm-hmm.
And that when he gets to the end of the game, he can flip everything around and be like, hey, you guys thought Dustin was the target, or this big target the whole time. Y'all should have been worried about me. I was
Yeah.
the one running everything. And I think that was
See, my
that was the
thing
play
is
there.
with Dustin, and
See, I'm fine.
I had Dustin fought. I would have voted for Dustin. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, like,
I know what you mean.
sometimes I can't stand Dustin, but at the same time, he played a good game.
Yeah,
like causing that chaos. Yeah, it might have annoyed a few people, but I can understand it.
Like, you had a great strategy in keeping the shield around in order to advance.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want to do in the game. However, historically in Survivor, if you go to the end with a person you're using as a shield, that's the person that wins because they're already seen as this big game maker. And if they make it to the end, that's the person we all try to take shots at and we missed. We couldn't get this person out. Everyone said that he was like the physically dominant one, the socially dominant one, the one who could manipulate, all this, all that. He should have then got their votes because they already had their respect.
Exactly.
But he didn't fight at all.
Yeah.
Well, even if he did, I still feel like Payton would have won because...
I'm not saying Payton wouldn't have won.
Right.
But
right.
we'll just never know who would have and who wouldn't have.
I want to speak here just real quick to this, and I am assuming, maybe I'm wrong here. I'm assuming this also went through your thought process, because I was in the same position or similar position you were in season 5, which is the thing about Dustin is that he plays, and it's not necessarily the game style itself, but how he does his actions.
Mm-hmm.
He does things in such a way that even if you're the biggest Survivor fan in the world, it just naturally pisses you off a little bit. Like, just from a personal level, it's just like it makes you uncomfortable, makes you uneasy, and it makes a jury not like you and not want to trust you.
Yeah, I thought he was a perfect person to take to the end.
And so, like, personally for season 5, I think on paper, I think that he played a much better game than I did. However, he was the guy that I wanted with me next, him or Ronnie, really either one. But I had no problem taking him that long because I knew that if he's the one sitting next to me in jury, I win the game. It doesn't matter what kind of games me and him played. People are going to hate him so much that I'm going to get all the votes.
Well, that's what you would think.
Yeah, but that could have been the same thing with Tyler and Ethan.
Yeah, that's what you would think. But if
one.
Abby, of all people, is willing to say, if he would have fought, I was willing to throw in my vote, and I was leaning to throw in my vote, if Abby can say that,
Maybe.
that's a really big deal.
Maybe.
Yeah,
And we'll
'cause
never know.
Some people could have taken his manipulation personally, but some of them could have been like, that's a good
Respected it.
Because
strategy.
he lied
Yeah.
for the
You
game.
know?
Like, he didn't make up just these random ass lies. It was for the game. Like, he knew what he was doing, hands down. And that's what I respect. Like,
What I don't understand is why he was fighting so hard to stay in the game. Like, he destroyed that slush. He dominated everyone in the Final Four
why
competition.
why did he need to do that?
Yeah, well, if he was just going to throw in the towel, like, at what point did he decide to quit? And he said it himself long before. When he realized the big move that Payton made in the top 6, that was the play of the game, shouldn't then Payton have been the number 1 target on his list to get rid of because of how flashy that move was? Dustin should have gotten rid of Payton in the final 3 and took, like, a nobody to the end, like Sam or Ethan. Like, that's what Dustin should have done. It felt like
Because
Dustin-
that's what a winner, that's what someone who actually wants to win the game would have done.
not to call Sam or Ethan nobodies, but in comparison to the move
in comparison.
that Payton had made in the game, it's just so uncomparable. And Dustin, I feel like, decided long ago he wasn't going to try, and he was going to try his damnedest to fuck everything up and throw it to Payton. And if Payton somehow didn't make it to the final 2, Dustin would have still played, without question. If Payton would have got out in final 5, final 4, final 3, Dustin would have kept playing. I don't know why or where he quit, but he did, without a doubt. And all he did was try to stay in so he could just toss it to someone else. What Dustin did in the final 2 was the equivalent of Dustin standing up and leaving the house, leaving us only one person to vote with. I think the right person won. I think the person that played the best game won. We got it right. Payton should have won. However, as a game maker, it disgusts me. So, Payton, what do you attribute your key factor in to winning the game? What was it that helped Payton win the game?
How did you take fate into your own hands is probably a better themed question for this season too.
Really, what I think was my best play, besides doing the still a vote, and I don't know if our Besides that was my social game. People, no one saw me as a threat for some reason. I don't know why. To me, like, this is how it's always been, is I've never been seen as a threat. And I'm fine with that. Like, don't see me as a threat. I don't care. Like, let's go to the end. Who wants to take me to the end? Take me to the end.
I think that's why people don't see you as a threat. They see you as someone, not someone that would like be like, hey, I'm gonna take you to the end, but you being like, hey, let me follow you to the end.
Yeah.
Your natural way that you talk to people and interact with people feeds people's egos in the game.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I think
You really
I think
don't have an ego yourself.
Yeah, I think everyone that you're around in a game setting, I think it totally feeds their ego because they think they can take you to the end and beat you.
Yeah, I get off this vibe, and I don't know why, but I get off this vibe that I'm someone that's not smart. And clearly, I do say stuff that don't make sense, or I don't spell people's names right. And they're like, all right, he's kind of dumb. Like, I want to take him to the end. Like, he's going to screw everything up. But in the end, I knew I'm fine with that. Like, think that I'm dumb. Look what I end up doing. I end up winning it.
I hope that you feel encouraged because, as I stated from the beginning of this podcast, you've shown that you're able to not only break fate, but to learn from your mistakes and become a much better player. One interesting thing that I find in your gameplay is how important loyalty is to you, because the people that I feel like you say I'll go with you to the end with is people that you are already loyal to in life. Like, it's your people that you know outside the game, like your local friend group. For example, in Season 5 Mystery Island, you were loyal to Ronnie and Nate, and it bit you in the ass. You were loyal to Ronnie again in Season 6, it bit you in the ass. Then you were loyal again to Dustin, rewarded you. But twice it bit you in the ass. And no matter what, you were always a loyal player. Are you concerned that loyalty has hindered you more than it's helped you? What aspects does loyalty in the game mean to you?
Loyalty really just means a lot. I wouldn't say I'm a player like Woo or anything that straight up, if I know that person's going to beat me, I'm going to try to take them out. Like, it's not, if I know for a fact that someone like a player like Toby is playing and he's played so good, if I have to, I'll take him out. But in the situation that I was in Season 6, Part 2, was I knew if I take Dustin to the end, I think that I knew that I could beat him. Even, and another thing I was thinking, and I didn't realize at the time that they were so open-minded, was I was thinking, if I take Abby, Ethan, or Sam, or Cameron, they're probably still, no matter what I say, and I was thinking, like, I might screw up something that would cause them not to vote me, they'd still vote their friend in and win.
Yeah, because if that's an alliance of 4, which in your mind it was, and one of them's in the end, that means there's a majority of them on the jury, 3 out of the 5.
But we clearly seen it wasn't an alliance of 4.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
Ethan flipped.
Yeah.
And shown that the lines weren't as drawn.
And obviously he wouldn't have known that until that happened at Final 5.
At that point, I knew I had it, like, as long as I take Abby out, I think I could go either way with Ethan, or, like, at that point, I knew I was taking Dustin, but
here's a question.
I could have probably taken Ethan and still won.
If Ethan wins, does he take you or Dustin?
I think he takes Dustin. Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think he would have took me. Because he was so...
I don't know.
Because he was so scared
I think it would go either way.
I think with the play that you made, that put a little target on your back because everyone was blown away by it.
It's hard to dictate because you had the play of the game, but
Exactly.
he controlled a lot of the game.
And
it's hard.
And here's what blows the
Ethan-
whole thing up is that Ethan, the round or a couple rounds before, did shit that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So even if he did the thing that, even if he's looking at it logically at both of those two things, like what does he even do? Like because he showed that he doesn't do it.
I think
always.
Ethan would have been so manipulated by Dustin that he would have voted Payton out and he would have brought Dustin.
I do
That's
too.
just my
I think he would have.
Would you have voted for your brother?
No, actually,
Would you have voted for Ethan? I know you're loyal. You do the loyal vote. Would you have voted?
No,
for
here's
Ethan
the
to win?
thing. I really think this was what would have happened if Ethan had won. I really think that I'd made such a play to Dustin that Dustin would have went up to Ethan and was like, "Hey, vote me out. Take Payton to the end." I really think Dustin would have done that.
But,
well, my thing is,
but then if
okay.
Dustin said that, Ethan would have probably been like, "Oh nope, you're going with me to final two."
You, I don't know.
I think if Ethan goes to final two, he might only get Abby's vote. Is what I think.
I don't think he gets anyone else's vote. My sister,
and that might be getting Abby.
my sister in particular was I heard her multiple times whenever it was the final three say that Ethan clearly showed that he had no idea what direction he wanted to go, not just at the final five,
was very
but
easily
at multiple points in the game.
manipulated.
He didn't know where he wanted
There
to go.
were
He had
several
no
points
path.
when he sort of threw his vote. Remember, everyone was voting out Maddie, right? And didn't
he voted me.
Yeah, he's shown
Because
several times he didn't.
That was
know.
the only
He
time I
thought
ever got
he
voted
heard
on.
Sam say Payton.
Because he thought he heard, like, I feel like that proves the point. And you're a very loyal person and a loyal voter, so I know that you probably would have given Spalla a vote, just like you gave Ethan
if
a
it
vote.
was between, are you saying Ethan and Payton or Ethan?
Ethan and anybody.
So I think depending on Ethan and Dustin, I think it would depend on what Dustin would have said. Would he have done the same thing that he did to Payton and kind of just lowball himself? Or would he actually try?
I think he would have tried if Peyton was
I
there.
think he would have tried.
I think he would have tried if Peyton wasn't there, yeah.
Yeah.
So he tried, so now who are you voting for?
That's tough because, I mean,
Someone deserves to win, one person's my brother.
it's not really that, because, like, Ethan tries. He really does.
He does. I think he just
But-
thinks too much.
But you're
going-
right. Like,
He overthinks himself.
Going back to what I was saying earlier about leaders and followers, I'm not saying this like in any type of way to hurt anyone's feelings, but we have leaders like Nate, and we have followers
Like?
Ethan.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean,
Ethan's gonna die.
What I will say,
We've had too many drinks, bro. We can't say
What-
things.
The person that said that is completely sober. Just saying.
No, things are just coming out way too harsh tonight because I don't know how to not have a censor on right now. So I'm just saying.
I don't ever have a
this.
censor, so I mostly speak my mind anyways.
I know
I
it's
have a
gonna hurt
censor.
some people's feelings,
Nate
but
well, I'm
have a
not
censor.
saying
I have a
this.
censor.
Nate has a
Yes, he
censor,
does.
but it's
I'm
not
not-
for his mouth.
I'm not saying this in a way to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm saying this in a way so that people can learn and realize their mistakes and maybe learn from that, you know?
and at the end
But
of the day,
Ethan has the will to do that. Like, I feel like if he were to play in another game, I think he would do better. I think maybe he would play his cards right and understand, you want majority vote every time. Like, it's just, who do you want in your majority vote that will kind of lead your way as you get further?
I think his biggest issue, from what I've seen, and maybe I'll be met with some resistance here, but I think contrary to that, he's a follower. It's more so that he just does whatever shit he wants to do.
I agree with that.
Which I think to an extent is valuable, but it's not
It's
valuable
meant to do
in a
it.
numbers game.
It's not valuable when it goes against the
Correct.
logic of the
Correct.
game.
But I think there are a lot of aspects where doing the individualistic thing can be extremely valuable in Survivor if you can mask it and you can hide. And so I think if he played a game where he took these traits, but he was able to hide and be soft and go with them to just be like, hey, tell me where to vote, he could be one of those guys that starts off the game really slow, just not a threat to anybody, and then surge past last five and potentially take a game. If he, learns from his past. Just to give him some props, he's giving a lot of shit, and I want to just give some encouragement. I think he does have things he can offer to the game if he just understood. It's not always best to, what's the expression go?
to do your own thing.
March to the beat of your own drum.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And he's clearly shown that when he
Exactly.
voted you out in season 5. He knew that you were running things. He's one of the few people that wasn't fooled by
Well-
your aura, and he voted you out. He
Yep.
clearly sees
Exactly.
who had. So he's demonstrated that characteristic. And he also needs to know, and everyone needs to know, how much it means to me that he came out and played.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was super excited to see him play.
Gave
again.
up his day, even for
He
Assassin's
requested off
Creed.
the next day
Yeah.
just so he could.
Even for Assassin's Creed, when he came out and helped us do everything, we couldn't have done that without him. Like, we might be shitting on the game, but hindsight's 20/20. You know, a lot of it is just making some fun at you because we love you. But at the end of the day, like, it means everything that you came out and played, and we wouldn't have had a game had you not do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, getting back to
Hold on, real quick, just to kind of finish this last thought up. I want to say, ultimately, for everyone, if we've said anything negative tonight, like, learning the game is the biggest reason why the people that win Survivor win. Look at the 3 winners that are sitting here. None of us won our first time. In fact, all of us won our 3rd time playing the game. It took 3 times for all of us to play the game before we won. And I don't just say that talking about us. I don't know why you're making that face. The point I'm trying.
Season May, it's your turn next.
Yay!
The point I'm trying to make is that our Survivor is very limited. You don't get to watch our Survivor. All that you get is this podcast. You get to hear our thoughts and about what we think. The reason that Survivor players are so good out in the real world is because there have been 40 seasons of the show to watch people make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And ultimately, anyone that has success in Survivor other than the dude that won it the first time, Richard Hatch, he just did his own thing and won. Other than that, they learn from others' mistakes by watching and listening. And I think that's the case with our Survivor too. I think all of the people that have had success in our Survivor had success because they learned from their mistakes.
Mason couldn't have said that any better. Yeah, I wasn't trying to diss on anyone just to diss on anyone, you know. I just wanted to, you know, make it aware that, you know, mistakes and, you know, that you can learn from them. Even speaking about myself, because I struggle with a lot of stuff too in Survivor.
But it's our passion that makes us keep coming back.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Now, back to the people at hand. Payton and Abby, why have you guys never worked together? 3 games down. Never once has anyone said, let's make something happen. Why?
Well, on the second one, we didn't really have a chance to really talk except for, like, the first. But he was, like, stuck to glue with Nate. Like, you couldn't go somewhere without one or the other when we were on my team on season 5.
Okay.
Like the first.
Okay, fair. And then the second time, it's like, oh, hey, I remember you from the last time I played.
So that is probably because I feel like he was more toward Ronnie's side. I wasn't.
Okay, and then the third time, you were like, hey, I remember you from the last 2 times I played.
I had the numbers. I didn't need them.
God damn.
Sorry, Payton.
So
Hey,
this
okay.
is all her decision then, is what it sounds like. It's her
Pretty
always
much.
telling you no.
Pretty much.
You got shot down from prom 3 times.
Yeah.
Well, not really the first time. I didn't really.
The second time, it was kind of my fault in a
Yeah.
way. But I feel like she still
Had
could
you
have came and talked to
Had
me.
you not been all about Ronnie
I-
a little
I-
bit, I think it might have, like, maybe had swung
And
me in that
that's-
direction. 'Cause I
that's-
thought about it, but it's
So-
just, I thought you were gung-ho with Ronnie. I knew you were with Maeleesa. I knew that.
Yeah.
But it's like,
So my strategy for Assassin's Creed was to have y'all as, you know, my trio, and then I realized that y'all hated each other, and I was like,
No,
I
wasn't
didn't
that we
hate it.
hated
shit,
each
I was like,
other.
this
No.
isn't gonna
She
work.
voted me out.
but that was to get, because I needed a number one, because I needed you not to have any loyalty to anyone else but me, like full loyalty. Getting Payton out got me that. Had it not been,
So
I think it
I-
was one of the best moves of the game.
I
really
will
do.
say, not anything against you or anything, but if I had known what had happened with Payton,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been loyal to you.
That's why I kept it under wraps.
So why can't you keep
And
that
that
a
was a
secret?
Yeah,
Smart choice.
she could keep that a secret, but not all of her advantages.
But not advantages.
It'd be like
Because
that.
I'm the ultimate advantage!
God damn. So, Payton, does the feeling go both ways? Would you ever work with her?
I would work with her, but she, time and time again, just betrayed me.
Let's have some couples therapy.
Actually, when did I betray you in that season? So I'm pretty sure
Not
he
the
made a
last
video
season.
of me saying
Oh, I know.
I would take you to the final 3 with me.
Yeah, so, I mean, everyone wanted to take me to Final 3 for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know. So
Which I'm fine with. Take me to the end. Let's
They're like,
know.
oh, he just
Both-
made the play of the
both
game. Let's take
Sam
him to final
and
3.
Cam,
Yeah.
both Sam and Cam, like, were
That
all,
was recorded
were both
before,
weary
though.
of you. Like,
Yeah,
the
I could
entire
tell they
time.
kind of were, but...
Okay. That makes a little more sense that was recorded
That was
beforehand.
recorded before.
Yeah, it was recorded before that happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that wasn't after. That
Would
was
you take him to
before.
final 3 after that?
I think it was a possibility depending on who was in the final 4.
Yeah, I can very much still see that being a
her
possibility.
logic wasn't completely flawless because she knew that she was banking that Ethan, Sam, and Cam would vote for Spalla to win, and it was just that simple. But
That's another reason why I wanted to take Dustin.
right, exactly. But
Yeah.
no one knew how open-minded and fair
Yeah,
Cam
like I
was
said,
and was going to be.
had
Yeah.
like
So she could have followed through and took you to the end, and then Cameron might have given you his vote, and
Oh,
you would have
yeah,
won
no,
still
for
because
sure.
Cameron was completely fair.
Speaking of Cameron, I was very impressed with him.
Oh,
First
yeah.
time player.
Hell yeah.
Super impressed
Yeah.
that he
I was.
thought about the game logically.
Yes.
I thought he made the correct decision every time that he made a decision. I think obviously Payton had to play 2 advantages to get him out of the game, and at that point,
go Cam.
sometimes you just got to say, well, 2 advantages got me out of the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was a good jury member too. He thought of
Yeah.
good questions.
He had
He was
really
fair.
good questions.
Yeah, I was super impressed with Cam.
My thing is I don't know if I would have taken Ethan to the final 3. Thinking about it, like I had thought about taking both Sam and Payton for a while. Because I mean, I hate to say it, but Sam didn't really make that many good plays. And I mean, after the play that you had made, I was kind of hoping that, hey, if we had made final 3, Sam, somehow if he would have won or if I would have won, like we would take each other and not you because of that.
And Abby
glorious
Sam
play that
final
you made.
2 would make sense. Like you don't want Dustin in the end. You don't want Payton in the end after that move. So an Abby Sam final 2 would make sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Other than, well, if you don't know that Cam was going to be as open-minded, you might think, oh, he's going to vote for Sam because that's who he showed up with.
No,
So
I knew
but-
Cam would go based on how, because honestly, with me and Sam, it's a 50-50. It's like I think he would have saw my play and he would have appreciated that. But still, like I said, Cam, like
This game was the Spalla game to lose.
I don't know.
This
I'm
game was
still
the
mad
Spalla.
at
We're renaming the season to Twist of Spalla because joke's on y'all.
Joke's
your
on
brother
And
fucked you.
There was we had this thing too
Uh-huh.
where obviously we had you in reserve to play. You were not an original member of the cast. Neither was Payton for that matter. Well, he
Technically,
was.
I
He
was.
was an original, but then when he
And
got
this
into
is the
Assassin's
second time
Creed,
I've had to
But-
step in to play
Well-
because I wasn't supposed to play season 5 either.
well, we had a question and a thought about, do we put Abby in this game where Ethan's already in it? Not for your sake, but for Ethan's sake. Like, do we just want him to play his own game? And we thought you being in the game might hinder him.
Yeah.
And if anything, I felt like it was the opposite. Like, obviously you helped him, but then he made decisions that like hindered himself where he should have just stuck with you. And so I don't know if you being in the game affected that. Like, do you think he does
It
better
could have
without you
been.
there?
That's what I don't know. Because in season 5, like, yeah, he could play partially on his own, but I also had to kind of tell him what to do. Like, with the challenge, where you guys thought of us as dominant people, like, in the challenge that we dominated, like, with the, what was it, the spoon and the ping pong ball?
You're tied at the feet.
Tied at the feet. Oh, yeah, no. Had I not told us when to step, how to step, putting the bandana of ours on our ankles, 10 times better. That string sucked ass. It was awful.
You've
hurt.
always said that you were the brains of the operation. He was the muscles of the operation.
See, but he's both. He had, like, when he knew that he needed Nate out in that vote where Ethan did get him out. I mean, he
but
made
you
that
voted
vote.
Nate too.
I voted Payton.
Oh, did you?
Ethan was the only
my
one that
name was
voted
only
for
on
me.
parchment once.
But
Abby-
he knew everyone else was voting for me. So he knew right then and there that was his chance.
That vote was like 9 votes.
Probably would have been smarter of him to bring that up to you so you play your
It
idol.
was
if you
when
do.
you had said,
Y'all
you
were
couldn't
on
talk.
lockdown because
It was
basically
on
we
lockdown.
revealed that y'all were going to vote out the top 2
Mhm.
vote getters, and then y'all
He
were
didn't
on
realize
lockdown.
that until lockdown happened.
So
So
that
he
was
couldn't.
He couldn't just due to the way the game worked. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is
Because
unfortunate.
he wasn't like
but-
other people and, cheated.
Right. Which happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
again, that's
and
another
good and
kudos
good on
to
and good on
Ethan.
you, Ethan, for not cheating because we've had too much of that in these games, and so we do appreciate that.
So let's do some couples therapy. Abby, Payton, I would like you guys to tell each other what you respect most about each other's game.
Oh my god.
Abby,
Nate's just the gooch in the middle.
I'm
I
just
mean,
the
I
douche.
did respect your loyalty to Dustin, even though it was misplaced.
The backhanded compliment.
that's
Oh,
I'd
man.
expect nothing less. Payton, go ahead, return the compliment.
The best thing that I respect of her game,
Yeah, what do you think of Abby's game?
that I think that you think about things the right way. That even though your mouth kind of gets you in trouble,
It happens.
your brain is pretty smart. Like you think of the right situations too, and you act on them right.
Thank you.
Now, what is something that Ethan can improve upon? Or
Or you,
Ethan, Payton.
Okay, I was about to say, reading the room.
Payton.
I don't know. I think what I would suggest is don't look as though you have alliances already formed, because I think that's what kept me away from you, is because it felt like you already had these hard packed alliances already, and I was like not included in that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I knew I need to fix from season 6, part 1. I knew if I was with some person the whole time, like if I had a trio, like how me, Ronnie, and Abby had, if I would have just kept her with us the whole time, we would have been fine. Like I would have been fine. And I knew if I let people go on the outs,
Because honestly,
then it would
you're
just
right.
go up against me.
Because had that happened, we probably would have kind of picked off some of the
Like Tyler or-
like Tyler and Gabe or Allie for that matter.
Yeah.
Like
It would have changed the game completely if I
had
would
we
have
actually
made some.
trusted each other.
And I didn't realize that I was making it seem like that
Mm-hmm.
until now. And then this new one, I thought that I talked to everyone the way I needed to. That I kept my like, hey, we're good.
Not
we're
gonna
good.
lie,
we're
that's
good.
kind of what screwed you over, was your loyalty to Ronnie when you got voted out.
Yeah, I'm
I-
talking about the next season, this last one.
Yeah,
that I
no, what
won.
I'm just saying in general though.
Yeah, I know that did mess me up.
Now,
in the end.
now, vice versa. What sort of advice and things would you give Abby? What can she improve upon?
I would say, don't let everyone know.
Learn
You
from
can
your
tell. You can
mistakes.
tell me.
Oh, I can I?
Don't
You can
tell
tell me,
shit.
but
I think this is another thing, in the evolution of our game, that obviously people don't get to see this stuff, so they don't know not to talk about their advantages, although you would think it would be a logical thing. But
God. I got mad when Thomas was telling everyone about the event. Like,
Yeah,
like you think
yeah.
I'm bad.
no, I know. I'm not a fan of
was
that either.
awful.
Trust me, these two know I was not a fan of any
Are
of
you
that.
talking
But
about which Thomas are you talking about? The one that had all the
of-
advantages?
Yes, and they gave
all
Gabe
of the
and
advantages.
literally
And
told Tyler that I had an
And then
advantage
Gabe voted
because that's
him
how I
off.
didn't tell
When y'all
anyone.
asked who wanted to pay the coins for him, I was like,
Yeah,
I will.
yeah, time to loot the body. Everybody,
yeah.
I will gladly. But then they put a target on my back, so I don't think that was very smart.
I was gonna say, so what we've seen, in regular Survivor is that obviously you don't want to tell people about your advantages unless it's like your ride or die, like, and you need to have them know about the advantage so that they know what's going to happen at the next
game,
vote.
I didn't have a choice. Thomas didn't give me a choice.
No, yeah, 100%. But
that one I was going to keep secret except for May. Because, again, I mean, I used mine on her because I knew she was in trouble.
So remind me again with that. So you had an idol and you told Thomas about it? Is that what happened? Or
so
He's seen her find it.
He saw me find it, and
gotcha.
then we literally grappled over it. Like, I was trying to put it in my shirt so he couldn't reach in there and take it out.
Mhm.
And, like, we were just like, okay, hold
See,
on,
I
Thomas,
wasn't
let's
aware
make
of
a
that.
deal here. Like, you let me have the idol, I'll let you keep it after I use it, you know, whenever I use it, because he liked how it looks. It was really, really cute.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay. He's like,
he bothered us about that after.
Yeah.
That was the one that we put back out at Final Five, and then when it didn't get played, he said, "Can I have it now?" And I just tossed it to him.
No. But no, where was I at?
Sorry, we got off track
Making
there.
a deal with him.
Yeah.
Making a deal with him, which, you know, I agreed. He said that he was going to put a target on Ryan's back. Like, that's when he got voted out. And he was like, okay, if you vote for her, you got to give me your assassin token. And I was like, deal. And then this bitch goes and blabs that I have one. That
Well,
made me upset.
We took a trip down memory lane. We seen the evolution of two players' games. We finally got the unresolved hindsight with the female alliance of Assassin's Creed Part 1. Does anyone have any other questions or anything before we wrap it up?
I do want to. I don't have a question, but I do want to say this. I want to say thank you to everyone that thought that I was no good player and that I was dumb and you think you could take me to the end and I'm just some player that is here to play and isn't
Take me
very
to the end,
smart.
Payton. Fight me.
I just want to say I love being the underdog. I love being competitive. Being competitive is my favorite thing, and I love it when people don't think that I can win something. It makes me want to drive and want to win more. So I want to say thanks.
All right. And so closes this chapter on Survivor Durant, and slowly we begin the final chapter. The clock will start ticking until we meet again. Tick, 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 boom.
I was waiting for a talk in there.
You want to say?
Well, so was that the end? Was that supposed to be the end?
All I gotta say.
It is
That's all I
now.
gotta say.
I was like, has anyone got anything
No.
else to say after that?
Yeah, no, from an outside perspective, it's been fun to be a part of it in some capacity. I guess in some capacity since season 3, I've been part of it in some form or fashion. So it's been cool, it's been exciting, been fun. I just want to give a shout out from all, I guess it'd be from season 3 on, to some of my favorite players in Survivor Durant. We have JJ. We have Thomas Dingler. We have Matt from the Quack Pack. And we have
He knows how to say no.
and we have good old Briar Henry, and we have good old Jace Caldwell. So in some form or fashion, you made the game entertaining or fun for me in some form over the last 5 seasons. And thank you.
Wow, has it really been that many since we played the first time? That doesn't even sound right. Yeah, I mean, I can say the same thing about every person that's played the game. In some way, you impacted it, and it's been a crazy ride. And only Cheston knows what comes next on this next chapter of Survivor.
And I'm excited for it. Like, even
Yeah.
if I'm not playing or not, I'll be there.
Yeah, I think we're all excited for it, and we're all looking forward to it. And it may be a while before you hear from us in another setting like this. You may hear from us in a different medium. Who knows? Maybe Might not even be a podcast next time. Maybe it'll be something even bigger than that, but we'll just have to see. And so I think with that, we're going to close it out. And if anybody has any questions at the end of this, just talk about it in the group chat and we can get a discussion going. Obviously, if there's something that you felt was unanswered, we can still keep talking about it. This doesn't have to be the end of it. But with that being said, I think we're going to sign off there.